Greetings, dumelang, tobela. My name is Mahobani M, and I am a writer of analysis and opinion pieces, and now I'm a YouTuber. Please join me on my channel as we speak on a bunch of stuff, really, and those are things I'm not going to outline as of today because this is the first video ever made by me. So please enjoy. You can follow me on Instagram at mahobani_, and please like and subscribe this video if, you end up liking it. Or just to, not evade curiosity and find out what is happening and what I'm speaking on. I am South African, and as much as I am South African, I am Black first, and so I will be speaking on issues concerning Black people globally, or well, as far as I can go. But on some aspects, I will be focusing specifically on South African issues because I do not see a lot of South African YouTubers or people speaking on these kind of issues, at least not in a way that satisfies me and what I'm looking for and what I'm looking to say and what I'm looking to hear. So yeah, as you can see with the title, it's a difficult one, and I think it's quite a harsh one. Batho ba bantsho re na le bothata lo bontshana lerato. Black people just have a hard time showing love to one another, and I think we have a hard time showing healthy love. We have held on to so many things of the past, and so many things of the past have hurt us greatly and have left some really harsh circumstances upon us that we have to now pick up and try to heal from. And we don't even have a textbook to say, hey, maybe you should try something. Maybe talk to your father. But you understand that in Black culture, or as far as I know it in South Africa, going out there to speak to your parent and say, hooray, meh, you've hurt me so much. You've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I feel like you could have done better as a parent. Those are hard things to say, especially because our parents. I'm a 2000, like on the nose. I'm a 2000, but I know parents. Our parents are people who are shut down. At least my parents were. They were quite shut down, and for them to open up about stuff was quite difficult. And I would say those kind of things strained our relationship, and that is such a it's a continued component in South African households, in Black households. So as much as there are books on therapy and speaking your truth and being honest and cultivating communications and being honest and blah blah blah, there's so many things that are given to us as a guideline to finding ourselves in a place where we are able to comprehend what has happened and heal and move on. Those things, unfortunately, do not necessarily apply to being Black, or at least being Black in South Africa, simply because we are just not that way. We were not created that way. Not necessarily that we weren't created that way, but circumstance is what it is, and nobody on the planet has been through what Black people have been through, and that is the honest truth. And so I think it would be very hard for us to take advice from people who have not been from our history, who are not living our history, and expect them to understand or to give us guidelines that would fit in with what has happened and the consequences that came after. As much as I can appreciate the guidelines given by Western therapy or king homeotherapists or healers, as much as I can be grateful that those kind of guidelines do actually exist, they do not, well, they come from predominantly white people or non-blacks, non-black people, because they have had the privilege to do those things, to explore themselves in that way, to have open dialogues in their homes, whereas we had to survive, and survival takes a lot. And when your parents' smile is the cost of everything that you have to that you need, the basic necessity, when their smile is the cost, they come back home and they are a completely different person, and we get the least of them. We get the anger, the disappointment, the insults. We get a lot. And yeah. Now, there is a formally written piece on this. It will not contain everything that I say on this video, but it is the formal version of what I'll be speaking on, and I would appreciate if you head over to my blog and check it out. The link for my blog will be in the bio. You can check out my work, see what I'm doing in terms of writing, because I am a writer first before pretty much anything else. And I think I'll be referring to that piece as I speak, and I'll read some passages from it just as a way to guide conversation and not lose ourselves in ranting or lamentations. So, Black people can't love. Internalization of what was the concept of the black person through the man's ideas in times of slavery and deadly racism has thus far been the most successful tool of colonialism, and continues to bear fruit and sustain the shadow of authority of our oppressors once had over us. In too many ways does this authority still mandate how we live, perceive, and love. And what is more black and African than unconditional love and freedom? In fact, what is more human? In this part, I use the word human because we are the first people. We are the originals, and we created, well, everybody is a descendant of us. And so when we say more human, because we are referring to us as the originals, we are saying we give unconditional love, and we expect, we hope that the world carries that kind of intense, unconditional, pure, innocent love to the rest of the world, to their descendants, to their families, to their offspring. So yeah, what is more human? And when I say black, the reason I think I separated black and African. Black, I consider black people all around the world somewhat African. But when I say African, especially in this piece, I'm referring to people who were born and raised in Africa. So, like for instance, me, I'm South African. I was born and raised in South Africa. I am still in South Africa currently. And then there is a black person in the Caribbean or in America. I consider them African on some level, but they were born in where they were born, and culturally and what they know and how they were raised is based off of where they are. And that is not a bad thing. And that's why I say black, because we are all black, no matter what. And I would love more than anything for all black people to be welcome and roam freely in Africa, and for us to live freely. No borders, no whatever, daki so again, Anyway, as you continue. The concept of black love is still somewhat of a challenge, even in these wildly progressive days. The love of a black man fails to be received as genuine unless it bears certain characteristics, and these characteristics may vary depending on environment and how much misogyny and patriarchy exists in your world. And also how much the men in your circles are allowed to express their own form of masculinity and femininity. The love of a black woman is expected to accept unbearable conditions and situations with no complaint or resistance. And black LGBTQ plus love, LGBTQ plus by the way, still makes some people cringe and look away. Black people are still seen under the eyes of those who committed centuries-long crimes against us, and society still, in some ways, perpetuates and condones their actions. Does he give you a girlfriend allowance? Does she wear a weave? Certain questions. The questions that I wrote here are to show how far and how little we have gone, and I think they show how much impact all the revolutions have had upon our society still, and the regular man's way of thought and perception of the world, like the women's movement, the gay rights movement, HIV and AIDS happened, like so many things have happened, and so somehow we expect the movements that have pushed freedom and expression and just to live and let live, revolutionaries that have asked for such things and have pushed for some things, we have expected them to have such an impact that we wouldn't find homophobia in the world in 2022. But the fact is, there are a lot of people who still wouldn't want to see a man kiss another man on the street, or find that polyamorous people don't just, want to cheat and get away with it. They are looking for real connections and real love. So, other questions. Is your partner a man or a woman? Did he tell his girlfriends about you? Can she bear you children? How has your journey as a transgender person affected how you love? Does he beat you in order to shine on his insecurities and how imperfect he is? Does she obey your rule? Being non-binary gives me the freedom to live as whoever I want to be and still be me. Does he restrict you from doing certain things and having certain relationships because he is simply jealous? Does she have male friends? Have they come out to their family yet? Does he cuddle you at night? Will she be attracted to your sensitivity? Does he have a one penis policy? Will he comfort you in your sorrow? Does she support you in your goals as you do hers? Now, while some of these questions show care, gentility, sensitivity, and indistinction in how relationships work in some aspects, regardless of gender, the others are simply trauma expressed through violence and oppression. Basically, a cut and paste of our oppression and the real and protruding scar it left behind. This dark scar some of our people actively express can show itself in a multitude of ways. The belief that another race of men cannot and do not truly love the black woman. That a black man loving a white woman is a sure path to his grave. And that only heterosexual love is real love. I mean, of course, we all know how black women are treated, loved, and even hated through the medium of a fetish. Let us not ignore that the black LGBTQ plus love is being seen as an exotic display, and that even black men are being seen with the lens of once you go black, you never go back. Now, when it comes to black and interracial love. I'm definitely in support of interracial love. What I have a problem with, and I have a piece written on this that I will release soon enough and make a video on, is black and white love between black and white people. And I think the one that really scares me the most is love between a black man and a white woman, as I have stated. I think I haven't let go of all of the things all the stories that I have had that happened in the past of white women trapping black men in certain situations to get them killed, to get them brutally tortured for entertainment, their entertainment and their community's entertainment. I mean, they used to get drunk and just go out hunting black people and just beating and killing and hanging publicly and make songs and have events, their own events, about them killing a black man, them castrating black men, them taking off the breast of a woman who just gave birth, simply because it was entertaining, simply because it was something that brought them together somehow. Like, I don't know if I'll ever be in a place where I'm able to accept love between black people and white people. As much as I know that it exists and that there are real relationships out there between black people and white people, I'm always gonna be skeptic, especially, not even skeptic, hesitant, resistant, in my own personal way. I will not stop anyone from having that kind of relationship. That's just not me. But I have issues with it. I have issues with it. But like I said, I have a piece written on it, and we will speak on it a lot more in detail someday when I release it. Let's continue. During slavery, our black men were viciously hindered from protecting us against the brutal rapes, the forced taking of our children, and just the general objectification of our bodies, minds, hair, and cells. Our beautiful black men were killed for loving us, and we as Negroes and Kafirs of the time would constantly try to fix the brokenness that came with all of it. We did it out of love as a community of a people, and they reciprocated that. We were our only protection for each other as a people. The history of the LGBTQ plus in slavery and apartheid is not even recognized in mainstream history. So much so that it seems they literally came out of thin air in the 70s. Although we know so little about the LGBTQ plus love in history, well, LGBTQ plus in general, I know of stories from family about how they knew of openly gay and lesbian people in that time who were both accepted by some and increasingly murdered and persecuted by a large majority. They were close friends and relatives being treated as a subhuman of our kind. These kinds of living conditions is what forced some people to live in the closet, forcefully marry another sex, manipulate teenagers into sexual relations, and other horrible incidents our communities eventually discovered. I, for one, believe that the LGBTQ plus were as much a part of black history as any man, woman, or child, especially before colonization, which I also believe that they lived and loved openly without being judged, shamed, or murdered. How the LGBTQ plus became subject of taboo, disgust, and sin is beyond my understanding. So, fast forward, we aren't slaves anymore, and we aren't being publicly killed as entertainment. Other races are able to outwardly show interest in black people and vice versa. The fight for black sexy and beauty highlights the fetishistic tendencies portrayed by some in those other races and is unapologetically anti-objectification of our black people. Unless, of course, it is a consensual kink, because we do have to recognize that there are people who do enjoy that kind of play in the sexual aspect of their lives, in their sex lives. You know, some people do like race play and being degraded and insulted and whatnot, and you know, good for you. And I hope you do like it. I really want to know how many of you like something like that. I am quite curious, because I do a lot of reading and research in love, sex, and relationships, and so I am curious to find out how many of you like that sort of kink of degradation, of insulting, of somebody spitting on you or peeing on you or something like that. Anyway, as you continue, all these other races now overcompensate their love towards black people to prove that they aren't racist or fetishists. Don't forget that dark scar that expresses itself in a multitude of ways. It is about to show some of its forms. In society, over-exaggeration equals overcompensation, and overcompensation equals falseness of some kind. In the minds of our black men, reignites that feeling of master using their black woman for his benefit and calls it love and admiration. So when the black man hears and sees other races claim love and admiration for black women, he cannot fathom it as truth. And he cannot fathom it as proof, and will proudly and ardently protect his mother, his sister, his wife, his anchor partner, his girlfriend, his metamor, his daughter, his grandmother, and cousin, and aunt, and colleague, and community member, and friend, at all costs. He knows the power and feels the impact of a black woman, all kinds of black women, and finds it wrong for those who were once our oppressors to suddenly, openly, and falsely speak fondly of a black woman. The black woman remembers that feeling when a black man was something left to be desired by none, as he was a tool, a primate, less than human, less than animal being. He was expendable, a slave just as she was. Now the black woman hears and sees the black man being desired and fawned upon. So she rushes to parade him about and speak about him in lustful ways so as to show the world his beauty and magic. The LGBTQ plus person knows not of his ancestors before the violence that fell upon them and the closets they had to hide in. They remember the stories of how their fellow black people would go to malicious length for gender rectification, and how their black people, the only group they could possibly belong to in such a time, rejected them. So now, as the world shows love for the black man and black woman, is their time to brightly and fearlessly and eclectically show up and show out. Protest into the streets, parade their love, and strengthen community. So what is the cost of our reactions? And how is it that the cost repeatedly falls on our laps? And how do we shine on the black love that creates universes and shifts the space of time? So, the question of what is the cost of our reactions? I'm speaking of trauma. I'm speaking of the emotions, the mental, and the physical aspects of what comes after. I'm speaking of when your parent beats on you, how do you move forward from that? How do you react to that? Do you give that to your siblings? Do you protect your other siblings? Do you hate your parents? Do you go off and do crime and doom yourself to a life of misery simply because you do not feel as though you deserve anything good? What I'm asking is that when we react to situations, and I'm talking about Black people, when we react, well, all the times that we have reacted to our past, to the things that were being done to us and only to us, what has that given to the generations that come after? What has that given us in our present times, in our past times, when we were going back home and talking to our children with the anger that built up, when you were looking at that Buddha man who's telling you to wipe the floor that you've just cleaned thoroughly, you know? When you look at their children being raised by you and you can't even go to see your own child. What have those reactions done to us? What have they given us? What have they taken away? How do we recognize when something is a reaction? And how do we get to a point where we say, "Ay man, asinna, it's not me. Gimaemo," you know? It's circumstance, it's situation. It is what has happened. It is trauma. It is hurt. And how do we find that place and then get to a place of not blaming ourselves, of not blaming the people around us, of finding space to forgive ourselves, to say, "I'm sorry for hurting you, I'm sorry for hurting myself," to look in the mirror and see the pain that we have in our eyes and say it's okay. It's okay that you are feeling the way you are feeling, and that you can look at yourself and that you are worthy and you can forgive yourself, because you did not create what happened to you. You did not create what happened to your parents and your parents' parents and everybody who was involved in everybody's lives, and the white supremacists and the colonialists and all of those people who did us wrong for so long. And we tried to survive and we tried to hold ourselves together and hold our families together. How do we give our children the truth? How do we give ourselves the truth and liberate ourselves at the same time? Because we do need liberation. We do need some sort of peace. We do need somebody to show care and make a change that will affect the generations that come after, because our people are tired, because our people are dismantled, because we have so many trust issues, we have so much hurt, we have been let down so many times, and we have fought for a very, very long time to get to where we are, that even when we got a piece of democracy and we were hoping and we were in faith and we were celebrating the little victories that we have had and hoped that the world would come to us, would finally see that they have done wrong to us, and that our leaders, when they find space in those leadership places and get the power that we have been looking for ourselves, for our country, for our nation, that we are able to make effort and make change. Black leaders, right? Now, and I'm going to speak in South Africa, because in South Africa, the majority is black and the government is made up of majority, is made up of majority, which is black people. And a lot of them are older people. These are people who are in their who are experiencing or have experienced midlife crises. People who are over 40, who are over 50, over 60 even. People who were very much alive and kicking during apartheid. They were youth during apartheid. Right? These are our grandparents and our parents. And they are in government. The people who experienced the oppression firsthand, who have living experience, who were the ones protesting on the streets, being and having their fellow schoolmates being killed alongside them, and children younger than them. They were the ones who risked their lives and jumped borders to try and save us. They are traumatized. They are hurt. And they need to step down because of that. And because they need to step down, actually no, because these people our leaders, our black leaders, have given up their families, had given up their lives in the past to fight for freedom, to do what they can to liberate all of us, to give us a chance at a life of some sort. They gave up their families, they gave up their children, their wives, their husbands, everything that they knew, and went to a foreign country, even though it's a black country, but that country, chances are, Leona, is suffering and going through a hard time. And they went there and they starved. They starved and had very little to eat, but at the same time they had to train every single day, and they had to become soldiers. Regular people had to decide, you know what, let's go out of this country and take up arms and become soldiers and train to fight so that we can come back home and save our people and save our families. They had a love for either themselves or their families big enough to understand that saving the entire collective is what will keep everything together, is what will give the individual opportunity and give them space and give them platform and give them people to support that individual so that they are able to get where they need to get. That is why our artists at the time were part of the freedom of our freedom liberators. Of our liberators, our freedom fighters. They were as much part of it as anybody else. The miners, the domestic workers, the teachers, everybody had to be part of liberating everybody, because that's how we get to a point where we change, where we cause change and demand and actually receive and take back what was ours. And obviously everybody has a limit. Everybody can only fight for so long. And so deals were made in South Africa. Deals were made to end apartheid with our oppressor, with the white people. And forums like CODESA were created so that a conversation and a dialogue could be had between blacks and whites, but also Indians and colored people that were being oppressed in South Africa. They were better off than black people by law. They were treated better as well because they were seen as a better people to black people by law. And so all these races who were in South Africa, all the nations in South Africa were called to Kodesa to have a conversation, to speak the truth openly and honestly without the possibility of being incriminated. Even if you say right now, even if you say in that court that I killed Oliver Tambo, I was the one who dropped people off of 12-story buildings and said, hey, it's a suicide. You know, we as black people agreed to such a forum because we understood that we needed the truth more than we needed punishment for them. And punishment for them is quite important. And I think, in fact, I believe that reparations are necessary to this day. To this day, there needs to be justice, there needs to be reparations, and there needs to be truth-telling. Because unfortunately, even with the compilation of Kodesa, there were many Boer people that did not tell the truth. Not all of the truth was given, even when we knew what the truth was, and they denied it to our faces, and said, no, that's not what happened, or that's not what I said, or no, nobody caused such a thing, no such a thing happened at any point in time. They even went as far as saying that it was not a crime to humanity. And they said it, I think, to the UN, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, let's not go there for now. We'll come back to that. The point was that our leaders have been through so much and have given so much that it's understandable that right now, well, not necessarily right now, but they went through a time when that trauma overtook them. And they became more concerned with their own selves more than with growing the collective and in turn growing themselves. They lost that vision and they lost those ideals and that ideology that they were fighting for and was in the front of their minds when they were fighting in that time. So our black leaders in South Africa stole a lot of money, they hurt a lot of people, killed a lot of people, took us for granted. In fact, they used us. They continued the oppression in a systemic way. Yes, they were able to eradicate the violence from white people to black people, especially in such a obvious, outward, entertaining manner, entertaining to them. They were able to eradicate that and eradicate a lot of laws and systems and structures that were meant to oppress us. They gave us a lot of opportunity and a lot of room to try and make something of our lives and of ourselves. And I can sit here and say that I appreciate that very, very much. What happened now is that they are hurting us so badly. They are taking everything away from us. And they are using us. And they are being used. And they are blind to the fact that when they use us, they lose a lot more. You took whatever they were doing to us and ran with it and continued it and gave it energy and gave it life and are just not fighting to get that back. You are allowing them, you are giving them space, you are giving them resources to continue oppressing us. It may not be physically violent, but it physically violates us just as much. Just as much as our emotional trauma, our mental trauma. We may be the strongest people on earth, if that is even the truth. We may be the strongest people on earth, able to withstand a lot. Slavery, colonization, and all of it combined. But we do not deserve that. We don't need to have more fights. We do not need to live a life where we are constantly trying to pull things together and hold and cover the holes of the walls with our hands when there's a fucking flood raining over us. We do not need to be doing such things. We want to live as well. We want our children to have something to live for. I want to be able to do the things that I want to do with my life and not have to start from below zero because my parents had nothing. My parents had nothing. My family has nothing. I've been abandoned by my family and I have to start from below zero. I have to make sure that the people that are in my family that care for me are good, are comfortable, are being raised with me. I have to make sure that the community that I live in, that my own people, I am carrying with them, I am carrying everything that I am with them. And that wherever I go, I cause change to make things better. That I am constantly fighting to make sure that we have a space. I have to do that. Everybody has to do that. Like, how long are we going to keep on doing that? And that's why in this day and age, people have thrown the towel, have given up, have left the room and said, you know what? I cannot anymore. Aksahona. Mpempe ya la bisha. Hababua ka speed. Pempe ya la bisha. You know? For those that do not know Sepedi, Mpempe ya la bisha means when something or someone continuously asks something of you and you get nothing back, whether from them or any other source, you are left drained, exhausted, and eventually with nothing. And that is where our people are right now. Our people have nothing. And they've said, you know what? Bye. We're done. And people don't want to fight anymore. People just want to look after themselves, their own families, and call it a day. Some don't even think about their families. Some, they just want to do what they want to do and move on with their lives. And who can really blame them? Who can we say we blame? Because the family dysfunction in South African homes, in black homes, is caused by the consequences of all of that colonization, of all of that slavery, all that fight, all of the submission that we had to do, the rules we had to live within, the cages we had to build, we had to co-build those damn cages and live inside them and accept the conditions. And we had to somehow be strong through all of it and then still raise the kids and still be prosperous and still create a career and still this and still that and still that. My parents, like I said, died with nothing. They died with nothing. Completely nothing. They had nothing. And who wants to live like that? No person wants to live their entire lives having never succeeded in anything, having never lived to the peak of their potential. Black love has been, on some level, dismantled and destroyed. And people are fetching their bag now. People are fetching their bag now. People are looking for money to fix everything. People are looking for money and are willing to do whatever it takes to get to that money, because they have done everything that it takes to get to something better than money and have failed dismally. And it is constantly thrown into our faces that when you don't have money, you don't have anything. You have no power, you have no influence, you have not even a slice of bread. You can't even wake up today and say, I want a quarter. I want to go and eat somewhere. I want to visit Mauritius for a week. Can we fly? Private jet, please. Can I take my kid to a private school? Can I? Because in South Africa, well, at least in my experience, I've only met white people because I've gone to schools that were in the suburbs. Well, not even the suburbs. They were the beginning of the suburbs. That's how I met white people. Otherwise, kids here can grow up and only meet a white person when they are adults and they have to work or go to school in places where white people go to work and go to school and are CEOs and managers and doing a lot better than you. So, Black family love has fallen apart. Black love in between romantically has fallen apart. Friendships have fallen apart. Platonic, love has fallen apart. People are to a point where they're refusing to help out the next person, to take out a tour and say, there you go. Because we've all been hurt. We have all been hurt. We can't even take hitchhikers anymore, because hitchhikers will get you killed. But the point of this whole video is that black love is dying. Black love is almost dead, and I don't know how much we can do to save it. And I also don't know if it's up to us to save it, because we have done a lot. We have fought very far. We have fought fiercely. In fact, we have fought in fear as well. We have fought through any kind of circumstances any man can create on this planet. We have fought through a lot, and we have given a lot. There's only so much somebody can do without dying on the inside and being the worst version of themselves. I wish I had a really good conclusion. I wish I had a really good solution. I wish for a lot. I believe that once we are able to love one another again and see the collective as the neighbor that will take care of your kids if you die in your house, the neighbor who will give you food and share their food and their TV and their couch and their bed because you are in need, a community that will raise funds for you to rebuild your house because it burned down. Once we are able to get back to a love like that, to self-love, because also we have to cultivate love for self. We have to be able to look at ourselves in the mirror and say, I understand what you have become, what you were, due to the things that have happened to you, due to the things that shaped you, all the things that have produced you. I see you for all of it. And whatever that does not serve me or that serves me badly, I forgive you for it, and I let go of it. As my Niger movies would say, I rebuke. We rebuke. And we forgive. And we have to be able to say I love you to ourselves. Or at least I like you. I like that you have hair. You can just like one thing about yourself. Or at least like one thing that you have done. Either for yourself or someone else. And I think that is a first step into a place where we are able to accept ourselves for who we are and be happy for being who we are and not want to change that. Because once we reach that point, we are able to give love and nurture love and create a collective that understands that we need each other. And the individual is able to be individual and unique and thrive and have success and space and platform because we all have a hand in it, because we all gave a little bit of something in order for all of that to happen. So thank you very much for watching, and I hope you are with me in the next video. We will be speaking on the Bible. I am analyzing the Bible and whether the conclusions I have about the Bible are truly correct for me, and I'm truly not gonna be Christian. Truly not gonna be Christian, or probably not even any kind of religious. Yeah, I'll see you next time, and I hope you join me, and lots of love.
My illusion entails success nailed with no rest. Examined I am against authority you fear. When the fourth star speaks, it leaks dimensions that need passion. The soul no holds of gods against my word. I saw no Lord, I am the Lord. I fought with gods, I got banished with scars. Swords of none, no choice to run. The sun being my curse, I recite the hearse. I never flee, I bleed. The soil ain't for me, I ain't no seed. What drives my greed for power is the memories of when I had it. Sad ain't it, begging to live with my art only, feeding the systematic tempo with samples of the soul, the one I can't find, hidden by realities, mirrors, no figures, disowned by my own soul. Is it saving itself for me? I can't read me anymore. My core can't find a calm place to get my thoughts, my sounds in order. A corner I created for the growth of chi, led to a philosophy that trapped me in awareness. I'm restless, the dark realm of the revelation needs to end. I need to leave, levitate and reach the godly peace I feel in my dreams. A destination I created for when I'm deceased. I'm a creator, a tailor locked in a creation that's not mine. How can I find a way to show that the revelation ain't no angel